Hello, I'm the awesome Tutor, and today we're going to be looking at the Royal Navy, specifically the significance of the Industrial Revolution and changing ship types in the development or changing nature of the Royal Navy. So, here's some stats to show you the impact or significance of the Industrial Revolution. Okay, Britain had two-thirds of the world's coal, half of the world's iron, and two-thirds of the world's steel by 1850. So it basically had a monopoly on these very essential resources which were vital for shipbuilding, for manufacturing, trade, etc. The age of steam. Now, the thing about the Industrial Revolution and changing ship types is they are interlinked. Okay, they have let's call it a symbiotic relationship. The Industrial Revolution is the driving force of these advancements in shipbuilding. Okay, now in your specification, the Industrial Revolution is not really mentioned, but the exam board have mentioned in emails to teachers that the Industrial Revolution is a very significant part of this exam. So you need to know it. Okay? EDEXCEL made a mistake, but you need to know it. So in 1794, Kent, the experimental steamship, was launched. So the steam engine was developed very early, but it was still very latent technology and did not really gain momentum until later in the mid 19th century. Okay, these primitive engines were fundamentally inefficient, slow, unreliable, so they were not very effective or practical as of yet. Therefore, you could say that these early steam engines had little impact on the dominance of Britain's navy, or rather, their impact was not realized until much later. The steam engines began to be put into action with hybrid ships using both sail and steam power combined, and these were very effective in river systems where you could not rely on favorable winds. And previously inaccessible inland areas, therefore, were now opened up to naval forces. Now, a prime example of these hybrid ships is the warship the Nemesis. Now, the Nemesis, this technological development of hybrid ships with steam and a sail power proved invaluable during the Opium War. Okay, the maneuverability of the Nemesis and the fact that it did not have to rely on favorable winds meant that it was able to defeat numerous Chinese warships, and it was also able to tow up more powerful sail ships far upriver. VictorianWeb.org says that her finest hour, the ship Nemesis, was in May 1841 in the top of the Macau Passage when her maneuverability, steam power, and pivot guns made her invincible against Chinese fireboats and shore batteries. Okay, so these hybrid ships were so adaptable in battle that it made them very effective and therefore strengthened Britain's naval power. Previously, steam power was used just for river navigation, just like in the Opium War with the warship Nemesis. But now, with the development of screw propeller engines, okay, going from paddle steam engines to screw propellers, steam power now became more practical for ocean travel. It was more efficient, it was faster, it was stronger. Okay? Now, then we have France getting in on the action. So in 1845, France launched its first steam-propelled frigates 2 years after the British, and so this initiated a naval arms race. After the Opium War, when it ended in 1815, Britain was able to maintain naval supremacy fairly easily, as other nations like France did not initially focus on major ship production. So this arms race further accelerated technological advancements in shipbuilding, but it also meant that the standard that Britain had to meet was raised. Okay, it no longer possessed the same global dominance as it had in 1815, but it still had the most powerful and advanced navy by 1914. It just did not enjoy the same hegemonic status that it had earlier. So the ironclad ships Well, you'll see the outside of these ships were coated with iron or steel armor plates. This extra layer of protection meant that ships could withstand more firepower, strengthening their dominance and resilience in battle. Now, as I told you, the naval arms race was very important, and this culminated in this piece of legislation here, the Naval Defense Act of 1889, using something called the two-power standard, which required the British to match the naval expenditure of the next two most powerful countries combined. So this was very expensive for the British, but this continued to accelerate the expansion of the Navy. Okay? 10 battleships, 42 cruisers, and 18 torpedo gunships were built between 1893 and 1894 in only 1 year. Now, all these significant advancements in ships culminated in the creation of the HMS Dreadnought in 1906, which made all existing battleships obsolete as less industrialized naval powers like the French could not keep pace. So, let's look at trying to analyze or evaluate the significance of the Industrial Revolution. Now, success in battle depended on well-constructed ships that combined speed and powerful guns. And so, with the changing ship types, this sustained Britain's hegemonic naval power in battle. It strengthened its ability to annex territory and defend British interests as well. Trade interests, political interests, strategic interests. So it also not only expanded the Royal Navy, but it also expanded or contributed to the expansion of Britain's geopolitical influence. And also, it helped with something called gunboat diplomacy, where the strength of Britain's navy meant that they could easily get treaties which were favorable to them through intimidation. So dominance in production and monopoly power over resources. This meant that Britain constantly had an advantage over its rival powers. If you remember the stats I showed you in the first slide, that is vital evidence to prove this, okay? Britain controlled almost 60% of the world's shipping. So clearly the Industrial Revolution was the root of Britain's naval expansion, as it allowed Britain to be dominant in production and hold monopoly power over resources such as coal and steel, which were essential for shipbuilding and advancements in ship types. Okay, the Industrial Revolution was the catalyst, driving force, engine of change, whichever word you want to use. It was the true catalyst for the expansion of the Royal Navy itself, whose development and growth was contingent upon technological advancements in shipbuilding, which were rooted where? In the Industrial Revolution. Okay? And so, this growth and expansion of the empire was synonymous with developments of the Industrial Revolution. Okay? They occurred at the same time with developments in the Industrial Revolution. As technological advancements increased, the expansion and strength of Britain's naval power also increased. And that helps prove the significance of the Industrial Revolution. And so, in short, the Industrial Revolution maintained Britain at the forefront of naval expansion when compared to other nations. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. This has been the Awesome Tutor. Bye.